we can talk about the Australian Classification Board. So, I don't think I've talked about them in quite a while. So, the Australian Classification Board has this habit of not knowing how their rating system works, not knowing that they have a adult rating, not knowing what an MA rating is, a MA 15 plus, not knowing that what they're doing at all. So, Australia bans import sales of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Omega. Really good series. Highly recommend you watch it. They did license the first season, but they decided not to license or to rate. Sorry, they decided to not rate the second season. Why? I don't know, because I watched the second season and it was no worse in that regard than the first season. They did the same thing a couple of years back with No Game, No Life, where they refused classification for the first, second, and ninth volumes of the light novel. I don't know why not third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. But yeah, they just decided not to. Which is kind of funny because they were already rated, so they classified them and then rejected the classification later. Now, once again, Australia has an adult rating, but an adult rating means nothing to the classification board because they're the classification board. They have this weird power trip. They think that if they say that something can't be imported into Australia, can't be sold in Australia, that means it's somehow not going to be in Australia. Oh, the other thing is, even though you can't buy it, it's still streaming, and it's still streaming in Australia. So, like, you can watch it. But if you don't want to stream it, you can also pirate it. Because, as I said before, the Australian Classification Board is probably the biggest the biggest advocacy group for pirates in Australia. They just randomly decide not to classify stuff. Like, there's been games, like Hotline Miami 2, for example, where they decided not to classify that, and I think the developer of that one was like, hey, if you want to play the game, just pirate the game. Like, you can't buy it anyway, so fucking just go ahead. Which is, I don't know if it was that dev, but yeah, there was definitely an indie studio that just said, fuck it. Like, don't care about the classification board, just play our game. And, you know, if you want to watch this series, just go and pirate it. Like, there's nothing stopping you doing that. You can stream it, obviously. But if you don't want to do that, yeah, the other option, just pirate it. Because that's how the internet works. You cannot just stop something being classified and then pretend like that is going to stop it from existing in this country. Like, that's just not how that works. The classification board thinks it is still the 80s and the 90s where they have any say over what actually happens. They don't. They have literally zero say. All you do is advocate for piracy. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they really are, like, Australia's biggest piracy advocate group. But if they're not, they basically achieve the same result anyway. And yeah. Yeah. It was, let's see. So yeah, this is saying that it just had light nudity in both the censored and uncensored versions. Yeah, it was actually nothing worse than the first season. So I don't know what they found with the first season that made it worse. With the second season that made it worse than the first season. But I already watched it. I watched it back when it aired, like in 2021. It was a good series. I recommend it. There's so, like, if something's not going to be classified, there are so many things that are worse than How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Like, I can think of 1,000 worse series that I know are sold in Australia. Like, Wait, I wonder. I actually give me a second. Is interspecies reviewers sold in Australia? Yes. Yeah, interspecies reviewers is sold in Australia. Is it classified in Australia? Or they just not classify it? Australian Classification Board. For anyone who hasn't seen this series, it's wait, they did no, let me have a look at no, no, no. Okay, no, they did refuse classification. Okay. Okay, I was gonna say, surely, they had refused classification. But no, people are just selling it in Australia from sites that, wait, what? Wait, is it licensed? Is it? I see 2 pages for the exact same thing. Oh, it seems like initially, yeah, initially it was MA15 plus. It should have been R. But then they refused classification when the entire series came out. For anyone who hasn't seen it, Interspecies Reviewers is basically hentai. It's about a group of guys who go between brothels and review brothels. So if there's going to be any anime that gets refused classification, I think that, I think it's dumb, but I think that makes sense at least. Let's see. Goblin Slayer. Let's see Goblin Slayer. Let's see. Also, this goes to show like how insanely like prudish Australia is. This is Goblin Slayer Goblin Crown. This is Goblin Slayer Season 1. MA15 plus. Strong impact. Not high impact. Not like, adult rate. I would say that it should probably be an adult rating for the amount of violence that Goblin Slayer has. But Australia is totally fine with violence. The only game that was too violent to be classified in Australia was one of the Mortal Kombat games. You have to be at Mortal Kombat's level for it to be too violent for Australia. But a little bit of nudity? Mate, what are you doing? No. A little bit of nudity with fog to cover it? You're not even seeing it? No, mate, can't have that. That's too much. Ripping people's spines out? Fucking go for it, mate. Australia. Fuck. I love my country. It's a great country. Fuck the classification board. No one cares, but you have to say, go away.